My life? Shot my life?
Your mouth. Because
shot my life into pieces.
What up, and welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners, your favorite full spoiler reread podcast of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series. I'm Nate. Joining me as always is my jackass brother.
I'm Zach. What up? Fuck this guy, Nate.
I rest my case.
Hey.
If you have been here, if you've been here. Yes, that's what I was going for.
You've been shaken, not stirred.
If you've been here before, you know that we are full spoiler, and thank you for returning. If you've not been here, this is the one warning at the top of the episode. We are full spoiler.
Hey, it's not the one warning, because we do usually, before going into spoiler content, say full spoiler podcast, so, but we like to warn you here, so that way you're aware, at least, and then you can't add us and shit, because you've been warned. Fuck off.
So, any news? Do we got any news? We're recording immediately after this. We're recording with Micah.
Yeah, we've got about a couple hours. Yeah.
So it's that we're doing that. That's happening, and that'll be super cool. So make sure you stay tuned because that episode will be released. Technically, it's midnight, the night before Thanksgiving, so it'll be available 100% of Thanksgiving
And we can finally just say it. Hey, Micah!
It's Micah
hey!
from Planet Toast Podcast,
it's
first
dope.
guest.
It's going to
be so cool.
Excited. Yeah, we're really excited.
And that's Tyrion 3.
Yeah.
But this episode, we're not talking Tyrion 3. We're going to be reading Sam 1.
Yeah, but first we got to cover last episode. We were reading Arya 3. And Arya is making her way through the Riverlands with the Brotherhood Without Banners, and upon learning that they were intent on taking her first to Lord Beric Dondarrion, not Dogdarrion, Beric, my boy, my little husky, they are taking her to their lord to decide what's to be done with her. Upon hearing the word captive, Arya has some severe PTSD about that word and what it means and what it's meant to her.
And she dips. She fucking books it.
Out.
And so she gets run down by Harwin. Of course, he was, raised by his father was the master of horses.
Sup.
So he reminds her of that. And she agrees for the moment to go quietly until she can find a good place to escape, which we know isn't quite until she runs off with the Hound, I believe, isn't that?
Gets taken by the Hound, yeah.
Goddamn!
I say goddamn.
But we got a lot of time before that happens. So, this episode.
This is a first.
We don't have a recap.
No.
We don't have a recap for what happened before. I mean, I suppose technically we could say that he was left at the Fist of the First Men.
Correct.
As Jon was leaving with Qhorin Halfhand.
Correct.
And we know that the wildlings were coming down towards the Fist based off of Thorin Smallwood's reports to Lord Commander Mormont.
You're on a roll.
And so they were preparing for some attack.
Yep.
They were not prepared for this attack.
Well, we
also got the prologue.
Hey!
And the prologue had Chet, the previous steward of Lord Maester Aemon, and he was pretty pissed, and he's sour towards Samwell Tarly, and especially Jon Snow, for convincing Lord Commander Mormont that Samwell was better suited for the role.
Yeah, Chet had sort of orchestrated a mutiny of some of the less savory folk, the less savory brothers of the Night's Watch, to straight up dip out on Mormont. And at first, the plan had called for only killing the men necessary. So, like, Dywyn the Tracker and certain men that would be able to send out Sam for the Ravens was originally the reason given, but Chet really just had a hard-on for killing Sam. The plan went to shit when it began to snow.
Right.
And we knew that was heralding the others arriving, but Chet decided to say, fuck it, I'm going to go kill Sam anyway, because at least I can get that. And as he was approaching Sam with a knife, the horns blew. The first one woke Sam, the second one had them both kind of stunned, and Sam getting ready for gear, and the third one made Chet straight piss himself as Sam was like, oh shit, 3 means others. And that was where we last saw Sam Tarly.
And so we will pick up technically a couple days after that. Well, I think it's actually within 48 hours.
Like a couple years previous to this day, because first time I read this book, I was a big fat stupid meanie.
Yeah, you're a son of a bitch, because I
hated this chapter.
From the moment I read this book, and from the moment I read the series, to Zach I harped on about Samwell, because I'm a sucker for Just his type of character. And, hey, man,
everybody needs a Sam.
They always start as a sidekick, but then...
Right. No, I hated it. I didn't hate Sam. I liked Sam up until this point, but my goodness, when I was just reading for content and to consume,
it's so quick and easy to fly past.
He's crying and sobbing, and there's stronger men that have done. At that point, I had thought worse things than this, and it's just so funny when you go back through it and you're actually looking for these things and what they mean in the world and what they could herald. It's a hell of a lot fucking scarier, and this may be one of my favorite chapters to date in the book. We'll have to see in this analytical reread, but goddamn. So yeah, my first note is literally poor fucking Sam. I was a cunt. Sobbing, Sam took another step. And this was the moniker that I hated when I first read it, but now I love
sobbing.
it.
Yeah.
Because now it shows his power to me, as before it showed a weakness.
It's funny because I specifically remember back when you were first reading these, you coming to me when we were discussing chapters and you mentioning the first time you read him and that you couldn't stand how fucking much he cries.
Yeah.
He's just sobbing all the time.
Yeah,
and I was like, yes.
Similar to one of our readers, I counted my first read through the amount of times sobbing popped up in this chapter, and I was not pleased by that number. This time, I think it is, it's a brilliance on George's part to emphasize this word, and then it's very similar to what Tyrion and Jon Snow's encounter is if you armor yourself in it, almost.
I think
it can't be used to hurt you, and I kind of think Sam does that in this chapter.
I think in a way this chapter itself is basically Sam's arc. This is his entire arc in condensed form in one chapter.
Giving you a quick
Because he starts off right at the beginning, just walking one step at a time, looking at his feet, but he can't. Mm-hmm. They're not his feet because they're moving.
Right.
There's no way he could be strong enough to continue going forward.
Well, yeah, we're opening immediately with this internal struggle of Sam saying, I can't, I'm fat, I'm weak, I can't take another step, but whose feet are these and why are they moving? Right. We're already getting the disconnect. This is a Sam doesn't recognize. Sam is already starting to do heroic things.
Well, and that's what I was going to say as well, is that from the get-go, he's stronger than we met him back in Game of Thrones. Right. He's a man of the Night's Watch.
He survived the Fist of the... Right. And that is a nightmare come to life.
And I think that's the way that Martin designed this chapter. You don't empathize with him at first. He is just, here's Sam doing what Sam does, because that's who we know
That's who we've been told, yeah.
But now we're going to see he did survive this, and, he followed directions. He made a mistake. Fuck anybody. Fuck anybody who throws
says
a
that
fit
they could hold
him.
their hand steady with that coming at you.
Dude,
right. He made no mistake. He
made
human error.
There was an attack that went out. He did get some ravens.
Right.
Not correct ones, but he did stuff. And, he's just... I think this shows how much he's grown, and Martin's trying to stick that. He's a character worth watching now.
Oh, yeah.
And he
hasn't always been. Jon Snow took interest in that. Aemon now has a close watch over Sam. I mean, yeah, if you haven't been paying attention, this is Martin saying Sam is a player. Sam is going to be... And we get the description here that the snow had caked around his boots, making them heavy and misshapen, these big lumbering... And, I mean, we grew up in the Northeast United States, I know what this is like. Yeah. I know how exhausting it is to walk through snow that's up to your knees and not be running from my life from something supernatural that I never thought would ever exist in my lifetime. But I know what it is to be exhausted walking through the snow, cold to your bones, and just ugh.
And what you said is the next thing that I think is... That I've never noticed until this time on the read-through, how well George did horror.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Because I allowed myself to, find the scariness in it, because it's while he's stumbling through, and it says he stumbles constantly.
Oh, yeah. He's got the heavy pack on his back.
He still keeps going, and throughout all that, in the distance, he'll hear the random screams, growls, and, I picture it that it's not snowing heavily, But there's probably snow coming from trees.
Well,
and
yeah, he
drifting
says
from the
that
wind
it's coming
and,
down, yeah.
And the vision is obscured. He can barely see the torches. He can kind of see them out in the distance, but, like, to have those just shrieks and cries out in the woods in the distance, just beyond where you could, like, that's terrifying. Fuck.
Yeah, and to top it off, which it's a nightmare. It's and Arya just had a similar one. It's one of those ones where you can't move as fast as you want to because you know you should be running. Death is behind you, but you can't. And Sam, the poor bastard, keeps having to pull up his fucking sword belt too. He had lost his sword at the fist, which we'll learn about later as he recounts it, but the scabbard still weighed him down, and I love that human error. He doesn't need this scabbard. Like, his sword's gone. Right. He could unclip it, but just habit has him pull him up and deal with that extra struggle.
I think that it's not necessarily only the fact that the belt is heavy. He's fucking lost weight. Like, he's
absolutely.
And I think that's another important thing.
Easily overlooked.
Now, I've also read a lot of theories about people saying that this is, and a lot of people have mentioned that while Tyrion is a reflection of George, Sam is his true reflection of himself, where Tyrion's kind of the quippy, fun side that he likes to see himself as. Sam, he uses him as his outlet for when he was picked on as a child for his obesity, his overweight, things like that. And so having Sam grow as a character, more physically fit, even if he's still always going to be a big kid, like a big guy. I guess he's growing up and he's an adult at this point, man of the Night's Watch and all that. But yeah, I think it's neat to see how much growth there is, and we're only in fucking Sam 1 of Storm of Swords, dude. Like, this guy goes so far.
He does note that he does have his steel dagger and the Dragonglass one that Jon gave him. Wink. And so he stumbles and notes that there's rocks beneath the snow and roots and sometimes even deep holes. Black Bernard had stepped in one and broke his ankle 3, maybe 4 days ago. He's not really sure how long it's been. He's just been moving perpetually forward. Old Bear had put Bernard on a horse after that, and they kept on trucking. And I like that he notes here, it feels more like he's just falling perpetually forward rather than walking. He's just stumbling. It's not...
Has it been 3 or 4 days?
Potentially.
I don't think it has been. I think this is, like, it seems like it's almost the same night. They're still running, and he's just so exhausted that he's confused as fuck. But I suppose it would make sense that he's that exhausted after a few days. The way that they idolized the dawn in the morning made me think it was their first dawn since the fist.
Well, no, he notes that, like, later on that at some points the sky is light in their snow and some points the sky is dark in their snow, but it doesn't matter. They just keep pushing. So, like, dawn comes, it just brings no reprieve. And so I think it is a couple days.
I think actually, right. It's more that they just know what direction Mormont is.
Yeah, they're just
and
like,
so that's
they're
all
going,
it is. That's where they're headed. So we head that direction.
So
we'll
when
catch
dawn
up.
comes at they fall behind.
I mixed that up.
So yeah, it's been a couple days. He thinks at least, and he wants to stop. It fucking hurts. He's cold. He's tired. He needs some sleep, some food, and a nice fire. But if he stopped, he was dead. They all knew that. The few that were left, anyway. They had been roughly 50 fleeing from the fist. Some had wandered off, some wounded had bled out, and sometimes Sam heard shouts from the rear guard behind him, and once an awful scream. He ran as far as he could when he heard that one. He thinks that they are behind us, taking us one by one. And yeah, the horror that you mentioned earlier, the fucking others
They're
slowly just picking up the stragglers.
I love how much scarier they are in the books. Like, they're just, because even here we haven't gotten that battle at the where like they're
we don't know what it is that's
like,
hitting them yet.
Right.
Yeah, the sheer terror of it. So yeah, we haven't learned about the polar bear or the bear, whatever bear it is. We haven't learned about like the dead men that pull themselves up spears. So to know that that's just grabbing men in the darkness and pulling them into this army of
Yeah.
But Sam kind of goes over here all his different layers, and I mean, poor dude is decked out in clothing, which is
Makes sense.
heavy as well at this point. But regardless, he thinks the cold is in him, his feet especially. Yesterday they had pained him something fierce, but today he could hardly feel them at all. So he's got frostbite as fuck on his feet. And he thinks that he had not slept since the fist, since the horn had blown, which is exactly where we left him in the prologue.
Yeah, so then we get a lot of just him shitting on himself. How terrible he's a coward, he's fucking...
Yeah, and this is also where sometimes the snow fell from a white sky, others from a black sky.
Yeah.
And that's all that remains of day and night for him. It piled high on his shoulders in packs, and his back and shoulders are feeling that fucking ache as well. And yeah, I'm weak. I'm a piece of shit. If only I were stronger, but I'm fat and weak. And all he could do was cry. And when he cried, the tears froze on his cheeks.
Yeah, I don't think he cries as much as he thinks, because I feel like he's...
I don't fucking blame him if he does.
Yeah, that.
Like...
But, again, that's all
what else is there to do?
And that's what sucks, is seeing how... Granted, it helps to make him that strong person, but the way that he got put down as a kid by his fucking stupid cunt father has made him just so much harsher on himself than anybody else ever could. I'm weak. There's no way I can do this. I'm dead. I'm already dead.
And he's thinking it as he's doing it, as he's keeping
ahead
of the rear guard. There are stragglers worse than Sam.
Yeah, because he actually mentions there that he can see the old bear's ring of fire out in the distance.
Yeah, I love that image.
And he's like, fuck, I want to carry one of those torches. Like, I would love to be hanging out underneath one of them fiery torches.
The old bear's ring of fire, and woe to them who leave it. Like, whew.
They fell into the old bear's ring of fire.
He had a torch at the start, but he had dropped it, or at least he had been told that much. He couldn't remember. But he doubts he could hold on to one now because his arm is just so stiff from cold and weak from pressing forward.
Yeah, and so he says that he dreams of the fire, that he's like, how much he loves the fire.
Oh, right.
I think it's funny because he hasn't slept yet, and yet there he is still daydreaming as he goes. But he starts praying to the mother about fire and then staying warm and just getting the cold out of him, man. I get the cold because I worked up at the fucking ski resort.
Yeah.
And like, when you're cold and your feet are fucking cold, like it sucks. I know some of our listeners are from way colder places.
He thinks even his wits are freezing with just how much it's in him. And when he's praying, he thinks of his own mother and his sisters and his brother Dickon at Horn Hill.
Dickon.
But then he also recalls that the Seven have no power up here.
We're past the wall, yo.
The old gods ruled here, the nameless gods of the trees and the wolves and snows.
And so instead of "Oh Mother," he starts saying "Oh Mercy."
Mercy, mercy, mercy.
Which is, again, we kind of seem to correlate that to death at this point. Just, or at least the way, especially that he's talking, is like, just give me mercy.
Old gods or new or demons. Whew. Mercy, mercy. And then he thinks that Maslin had screamed for mercy. But that was nothing he wanted to remember right now. The man had stumbled back, dropped his sword, yanking off his thick black glove, thrusting it up as if it were a gauntlet. He shrieked as the white had lifted him by the throat and near ripped his head off.
Don't think of that. Just walk.
The dead have no mercy in them. And the others, no, fuck that. Just walk. Just walk.
And so...
very similar to Bran's Jaime Lannister repression. Right. You don't need that. Don't focus on that now.
And then, who was it more recently that we were talking did the same thing?
Tyrion?
I wanted to say it might be Tyrion, but no, it was somebody that was... don't think of that right now and don't
Catelyn,
use that.
Probably I would assume with
I think that was probably, or Arya. It could be any one of them at this point.
Well, right. But I mean, Sam especially. We know Bran's power sort of focus or centralized here, and so the fact that Sam is kind of doing the same, almost awakening that Bran had of this. He's now has an extremely traumatic, and I mean, hero's journey. There's always some inciting incident that gives our hero the reason to act, but.
He keeps going, though, man.
Fuck yes, he does.
He trips on a root.
This is the end. My only friend, the end.
Yeah. He immediately thinks, now I'm dead.
Yeah, this is it.
And
it's not going to be so bad to die.
He bit his tongue.
Yeah.
And he's bleeding in his mouth, and this blood is warmer than anything I've felt in days.
Ugh.
And because I've had the warmth of blood in my mouth before, like when you're, but
your
not
lips
to the
crack,
point where
yeah.
it's like, oh man, like this is the warmest I've been. Like maybe I should fucking bleed a little more.
Yeah.
Fuck.
He thinks that, yeah, it's not so bad to die here. You could just lay down in the snow and cover him up like a blanket. And they couldn't say that he was the first to die. They couldn't say that about Samwell Tarly. Hundreds had died on the fist, and more after. Many more after. And he's like, yeah, the snow will cover me up like a warm blanket. I will die a man of the Night's Watch. I did my duty. I'm fat, and I'm weak, and I'm craven, but I did my duty. And he recalls it. The ravens were his duty. Aemon, as we know, is too old to come to the fist, so Sam came with the ravens. Old Bear had commanded him to not join any fighting, but to send off the ravens.
That's your one job.
One to
Tolly.
Castle Black, and one to the Shadow Tower. Boop, boop.
Just get the ravens out. So he was like, I can do this, and so he wrote the messages out. He wrote out a shitload of messages just to have them ready to go.
Again, the self-pity bleeds in, where he's like, I'm sorry, I wasn't braver to fight, wasn't a better son or brother. And he's sorry to die, too. Lots of good and true men died on the fist.
So...
But he got the birds off.
If he died right there, absolutely everything he just said, no one could say he didn't do his duty. He did his duty better than a lot of men, more bravely than he thinks or is given credit
What's
for.
funny is, like, we know Chet was how many good men actually died there, Sam?
Right.
It seems to me like, you, Old Bear, even,
Gren,
I would say
Smallpaw.
Thorin Smallwood is one of the good men who died up there, because he went at that bear with no fucking hesitation,
No,
man.
dude.
Like, holy shit, we'll get there. But it's an interesting, like, Sam, you, Mormont, these good Mormont we know at least is good in the sense that he's doing what he can for the Night's Watch, and Sam we know is good just from now being in his head. But you got away, like, chill on, like, the self-deprecation, because you made it out of there. That's a good thing. Like, the realm needs you. The Night's
you're going
Watch
to do great
needs you.
things.
Yeah. And so you're more important than you're saying here.
But so he wrote out some messages saying that there was a wildling attack, which is what they were expecting. Who... You can't blame him for not writing the others, because...
Who the fuck would ever...
I mean, nobody would listen, I suppose, but that's incorrect, because he would be sending it to Castle Black, where they're kind of... Like, John had one attack, and Old Bear had one attack, so they're kind of aware that they do exist. So, technically speaking, he could have... But that's still, like, writing out a fucking... That's like us saying... Oh, yeah, there was a Sasquatch attack. There's a group of people that know they've seen fucking Bigfoot.
Well,
He's
right,
a real
and
dude.
with, like, the superstition and all the sort of, and being there in the north, I could feel like could be one of the things where, like, writing it could potentially make it true.
Right.
And so,
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
nah, fuck that. I'm not going to write that the others are attacking us and bring that hoodoo, voodoo, juju down on us. Like, I could see it being superstitious. This makes sense. Like, the wildlings, they know they're coming down, and that's what they're bracing for here. They're not bracing for the White Walkers and their army of whites to attack. No one is fucking bracing for that. And so, again, I don't blame Sam here at all. I think it's a smart move. Pre-plan these messages to get them off.
I agree. So he woke up on the first horn blow.
Yeah.
And
Everyone's gearing up around him. Only Chet was standing close to him, though. And Sam had never seen so much fear on a man as he did in Chet, who ran off immediately.
Which, while yes, the whites made him piss himself, he was a nervous wreck to begin with the mess up plans with the mutiny.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it makes sense that this little coward looks like that. And it's just funny that he doesn't understand how much less of a coward Samwell Tarly is, than that scumbag.
Right.
As well as a lot of the scumbags that are going to fucking run off
Right.
with him and make it out of there.
So Sam got his messages. He collected those, and he goes
even
out.
asked for Chet for a hand.
Yeah,
before
help me
Chet
send off the
like-
birds and run. And Sam, of course, explains it like, oh, yeah, he's probably got to take care of his dogs.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, no, Chet's fucking fleeing for good. Like, he's gone. Or to wait in ambush and throw
with his
Sam
dagger
off a
in
horse.
hand.
But, yeah, so Sam goes and grabs his messages. He fights with the ravens, which, again, any animal in the area is just kind of going fucking ballistic at this point. So he gets to Castle Black raven off as he starts to hear the sounds of commands and clattering steel fill the air. And the ravens are just going absolutely bug shit, but he manages to get the second one off.
Right. Finishes dressing up, grabs all his gear, including his Dragonglass dagger.
Yep. And he doesn't know what to do. He's like, shit, Mormont told me not to rush to the ring wall to where the fighting's going to be the thickest.
He also told me not to go to him and bug him with a bunch of fucking shit, so what do I do?
The snow is muffling the sound because it's falling at this point. He can't see any torches around him.
I liked the way that Martin put, Sam walked in a circle around where his camp had been and just stops and is like, where do I...
And then he thinks on the fact that it was 3 horns blown, and he thinks the white walkers of the woods, the cold shadows, the monsters from the tales I've heard as a kid that used to scare me as a kid. And he's doing this as he's looking out at this darkness. Like, how fucking terrifying it is to just... Here's the boogeyman that's... been prevalent in every one of your little childhood tales.
I think this was a missed opportunity for the show to go to like a completely. I suppose that's not what they were going for, but I think this scene should have been way more horror genre than action.
Yeah, the show, especially when you put it into context in contrast to this chapter, they had Sam hide behind a rock as the army of the dead ignored him and walked by him. This is so much more empowering and fucking horrifying.
This is what you see technically in the Battle of Winterfell in season 8. Right, the way they're rushing the castle and the darkness,
shit. And the darkness.
That's what this is.
That's what this scene absolutely is. Yeah. And I would say that this, actually bringing that up, I would say that this is probably inspiration for that scene.
That's what it should.
Now, with the darkness and how dark they made it, that was one of the biggest complaints. I would say it's this, with how confused this chapter
that
is.
Would have, and even less action-y, I think, is what this should be, where it's complete horror. And you could have gotten away with making it dark.
The quick cuts, and the way Sam is remembering it and not remembering it, and it's just fucking, it's great.
I love it.
So he's not quite sure.
So he pulls out his sword and he sees some guys that he follows and jumps in line with because he's like, I don't know what else to do. And they ended up being just a bunch of guys from the Shadow Tower.
Yeah, he feels a little safer for him. Like, group. I found a group of guys.
I think this is awesome of him. That he was scared to go and be in the training field.
He jumps in with a
random group of Night's Watch.
No one.
These are his brothers though.
Right.
He's willing to accept that. And I think that's just.
But old Sam would have been like, I don't know these guys.
They're
gonna laugh at me.
He jumped right in and they didn't
sword drawn, running for the ring wall.
Running for the ring wall,
and no one says anything. Everyone's just probably like, "Fuck yeah, we got another
guy."
Yeah.
Thank God, there's some fucking monsters running through here, and I'm fucking scared.
So they get up as they start approaching. Sam starts looking for Gren and Ed, and he thinks, if I'm to die, let it be among friends. But there's only Shadow Tower men.
My heart.
Under the command of a man named Blaine. And so Blaine orders the men notch, draw, and hold, and the men begin to comment. There's hundreds of them. Gods, they're crawling. And Sam begins to back away at these different shouts of just...
Yeah. There's a cheer once they release the arrows, as they all connect for a moment, until they're like, shit. They're still coming. Yeah. They're not stopping. What do we do? What do we do? And
we cut away at that point because Sam thinks that it had been very, very, very cold that night. But he's warm now under his blanket of snow as he sees a few horses go by him. One of the men curses him as he's leading it by back into real time as Sam is fleeing the fist now. And he thinks, I wish I had a horse. Like, I could keep going on a horse, maybe sleep in the saddle.
Right.
But the remaining horses were pack horses that carried the torches and equipment and the wounded. And Sam, he's just fat and craven, so they wouldn't waste a horse on him.
And again, he thinks of his father and his brother. If I lie here and die, will they ever think of me?
Would my brother shed a tear for me?
And he's like, no, of course they fucking wouldn't.
Cravens aren't worth...
Right.
Cravens aren't worth crying for.
And again, like, I don't know. We don't know Dickon. I think that there's a chance Dickon would be upset that his brother died.
I would like to think so. That oh man, that sucks.
That he at least empathized with how his brother was treated, and especially that's the day I like, because I don't want to see Dickon get fucking burned by Daenerys Targaryen, because reasons.
Right.
I would like to see one day Samwell is fucking revealing the information he learned at the Citadel to save the lineage of the Targaryen ancestry, and Dickon's like, yo, that's my fucking brother.
Yeah, right.
Like, he's the head steward of the Night's Watch.
If anyone's to like die in the family, let it be Randall Tarly, and then Dickon takes over.
Yeah.
But Sam is fucking at the Citadel. He's forsaken his family name through the White Night's Watch, and then through taking a vow at the Citadel. And so like, fuck the Tarly name. I'm Sam of the fucking Citadel, bitch. And like Dickon's like, yo, my father was a dick, but like, you're my brother. It's dope that you're doing that.
And so I think he would shed a tear.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping as well, is that Dickon isn't as big of a Dickon as Randall is.
So he kind of flashes back into his memories with
as
Mormont
he's backing away
through.
from the men shooting the arrows, hearing that they're crawling, which is fucking horrifying.
Right, and that's when it clicked for me there, when I went back
this
and
this is the mound of dead just crawling over each other to get up this hill, and it's fucking fire.
But Mormont comes charging through on his horse himself, yelling, "Fire arrows!"
Yeah.
Dude, and all I could think is just every one of these archers pausing and standing still for a second as they all open their little Zelda menu to go over and switch to the fire arrows. Because I was like, of course fire arrows. Like, you can't use ice arrows on the ice monsters.
Shit, I've got bomb arrows. Clear!
No, fire arrows do the, like, so that's all I thought of. Anyway,
he's like, Tarly, don't you have ravens to send off? And he's like, I did. And he's like, good, get back with the birds.
You don't belong here.
You don't belong here.
I want to know exactly where to find you as soon as I need to send more fucking birds off. And he's like, okay, I'm gone. Cool. Bye. See ya later.
So yeah, he heads back to his little campsite.
And he does it again.
And he thinks to write the messages ahead of time. So he sets about getting a fire to warm up his inks. I mean, again, the dead are attacking, and Sam is still being very orderly. Start the fire, warm up the ink, get the messages, get the shit ready to prep. Mormont said, I need to be here.
And now he's got that fire that he's standing there.
And then he's got,
Like, I mean, it's not a big...
No, but it's his own little bastion here. Yeah, and it's horrifying what Martin does with that little bastion. Because he begins writing, and I love this scene.
This was
he begins writing as he's hearing commands being shouted. And so his first begin attacked amidst snow and darkness. We've thrown them back with fire. Results uncertain. He varies the messages based on what he's hearing as there's cheering and
from the men.
And then oh no,
and then shrieks and stuff. And then all of a sudden he hears, word of a giant. And then, oh shit, there's a fucking bear!
Yeah, he hears Thorin Smallwood's commanding, arrows flying, Dywin's cackling, saying, "Burn, you dead bastards, burn!" And he writes more, "Whites attacked us in the snow, but we drove them off with fire. Whites attacked us in the snow, results uncertain." He sees the reserve lighting torches and writes, "Whites all around us, coming from north and south at once. Spears and swords don't stop them, only fire." And he hears some shouts, the giant, a bear.
So he writes for that one that there's a giant here, or maybe it's a bear.
Right.
And the fact that that misleads us almost, where, like, maybe, is there a white giant? And a white bear? Right, and that's what but the way that he combines it makes it seem like he doesn't know, and he's confused that a little bit, and now it's only one that he's imagining.
We've won, we're trapped, etc., etc. A shadow tower man staggered out of the dark to fall into the pool of light Sam's fire cast and die at his feet. Lost, Sam wrote. The battle's lost. We're all lost. Fucking hell.
Reminds you of the...
What killed this man?
The Mines of Moria.
Like, what just killed him? Sam is off in his little camp. Like, he's not near the ring wall. Like... did this dude book it?
I mean, he could have gotten, like, stabbed and then he ran and died there, but yeah, who the fuck knows?
Are they right there? Like, is this something that got launched from a giant, like, or a bear? Like, what the fuck?
What is happening?
Is right outside Sam's little fucking circle of fire, of light and protection. And the lost, we're all lost. The battle's it's just a fucking
like I said,
punch.
it made me think of the Mines of Moria.
Yeah, right.
In Lord of the Rings with the
Dumbledore's
Gandalf. Nice, close though.
Yeah, you know I'm a real nerd. I've never read Tolkien, so
shut up. Anyway,
he doesn't want to remember the fist right now, though. No,
right?
No.
Which is great because he's been found by his buddy Gren.
Gren is like, get the fuck up, Sam.
Yeah, he's like begging Sam,
get
up. And I think this goes to show how much Gren cares about Sam.
Gren's a good dog.
He is stopping, and it's again. I hate that Sam puts himself down so much throughout this chapter because you do have friends with Ed and Gren, and it shows.
Right. And that's what, like, he's shitting on himself here. He thinks of John, who's most likely dead somewhere. He'd cry for him, but those tears would only freeze as well. And Gren tries lifting him, kicking him, but Sam just curls up into a little ball in the snow.
I just want to sleep.
Which, the little ball in the snow is very reminiscent of him curling up into a little ball in the training yard when he's getting his ass kicked. Only the difference here is astronomical again. He's doing this after fleeing from the fists of the First Men, and then he's about to kill a White Walker for the first time in centuries.
10,000 years.
Yeah. So, it's just I thought it was a brilliant move of, diminishing him. He's on the ground getting kicked, but this time he's getting kicked by a friend who's saying, get up, you'll die here if you do this. And so it was a good callback. Sam is suddenly lifted up into the air.
Yeah, because they had been passed by a few different people being like, leave him, let him die. He's going to die.
Let the fat ass die. Yeah, people being dicks.
Small Paul's here. He just kind of lifted him right up and
gives his torch to Gren.
And says, you hold the torch, I'll carry the fat boy.
Sam's like, put me down. I'm not a baby. I'm a man of the Night's Watch. Just let me die. And Gren tells him to be quiet. Think of your brothers and sisters, or Aemon, or foods, or sing a song. And Sam's like, sing a song aloud? And he's like, in your head.
In your head.
And Sam tries to think of one, but can't, and starts to sob because of it. Sam, Gren, I can't think of a song.
And of course, the Bear and the Maiden Fair comes popping right up, which is just Martin showing how widespread and loved the song is. And Sam's like, fuck that song.
Fuck that song.
And he's like, well, then fuck music. Don't worry about singing a song.
Yeah, because the Bear with the Fist had no hair left on its rotten flesh, he thinks. And Gren's like, then think about your ravens. And Sam's like, they aren't mine. They're the Night's Watch. And Small Paul's like, Chet said I could have Mormont's bird. And then he's like, but can I have one of yours instead?
Well, he even reveals, like, and I had even hidden food. I forgot to get the food. Damn. Yeah. Now I have to, son of a... And, like, how close... Like, only because they just were fleeing the fists can it be forgiven that they... What the fuck are you talking about, dude? Why would Chet offer you Mormont's bird? That doesn't... Yeah, no one's even thinking of any sort of mutiny at this point. Right, it's not. Right. It's not even a thought. It sucks, but... And then Sam tells him they're gone. The ravens are gone. He'd set them free when he had heard the horns calling for the watch to get to horse, which meant that they were fleeing, which meant the battle was lost. And as the last raven had taken off out of the cage, Sam realized he never sent his messages off. And he had chased one. Almost to the fucking ring wall. Indeed. Dude, yes. That's scary as fuck. If you're chasing this desperate to make sure you get a message off, and you miss out on it, look up and you're right at the fucking edge, right there. No ring of fire, yo. Right. No ring of fire, yo. So I wrote that I wanted to read this little paragraph just because of how heavy hitting I think it is. Oh, God. It says, after that, he remembered the dead coming over the stones with arrows in their faces and through their throats. Some were all in ringmail, and some were almost naked. Wildlings, most of them, but a few wore faded blacks. He remembered one of the Shadow Tower men shoving his spear through a white's pale, soft belly and out his back, and how the thing staggered right up the shaft and reached out his black hands and twisted the brother's head around until blood came out his mouth. That was when his bladder let go for the first time. He was almost sure. Fuck that. This thing, he sees it stabbed, intestines fucking on the spears, splop down on the, and it just crawls up this shaft. Yeah, I think which is a classic, like, Walking Dead zombie type thing, but for it to get there and just twist the head off. Like, woo.
And then he doesn't remember running, but next the fuck he knows he's half a camp away.
Yeah, and he's sitting there next to Auden Withers.
Yep.
And the bear arrives.
Yeah, he shit hits the fan. He sees Sir Auden Withers get kicked in the face by a fleeing horse. Archers are shouting for fire, and then he's on a horse.
He doesn't remember how the fuck he got a horse or whose horse. Maybe it was the one that kicked Auden Withers, but you don't know.
In the midst of the carnage and chaos and snow, he found Dolores Ed, who was also mounted. And Ed turns to Sam and says, "Sam, would you wake me, please? I'm having this terrible nightmare." And Mormont rides up, roaring commands, and fucking form wedge.
Yeah.
We ride down south to east, and they're like, "Yo, that's where they're coming from." And
It's
he's
the
like,
only option.
we have to and that's when the bear's like, "Fuck y'all's plans."
And I like that he thinks the eyes are blue, just like John
said. And then he pissed himself.
What?
Right?
And Thorin Smallwood's like, "Fuck you, dude. I'm coming for your shit, bro."
He charged it.
And
Jesus.
almost cuts its head clean off before the bear took his.
Ugh.
Poor Thorin. Rest in peace, bro.
Dude, ballsy as fuck.
Yeah.
Ride, Mormont shouted, and they did. Jumping the wall. Sam had never jumped anything on a horse before.
But it happened, and I don't blame him or the horse, but not all the horses landed.
I mean,
right.
that's just another thing. Sam's never done this, and he did it right then and there.
Right.
They're like, add that to the hero feat.
And so they're just
Riders going down left
flying
and right.
down this hill.
Whites are reaching up, ripping the bellies out of the horses. Weapons are swinging. Sam sobbed and held on with a strength he didn't know he had.
He clutches that horse, man.
What
Whatever
else
you
can
gotta
you do? What
Right.
else can you do?
You're literally only racing down.
Unless you
breakneck.
have something like a torch or something on fire that you can be hitting them. There's
yeah.
no point to doing anything.
And his sword's gone at this point.
And right, he lost his sword. They reach trees, a tree line, and they head in.
And he thinks he can breathe a sigh of relief.
Hey, things are chill until a man in black leapt out and grabbed Sam and threw him from the saddle, taking his horse and riding off.
I do not think it's Chet.
I don't either.
Because I think Chet would have killed him.
I think Chet's a fucking pussy and is already
Gone
running
long
in a
ago.
different direction. Yeah.
Sam was here for too long. I think because Sam went and tended the ravens again.
And it's too
chased
close.
it
Like, I
around,
don't think Chet was just hanging out that close to the fist. Like,
waiting
I don't think
for
he
a
stopped
horse
running.
And, yeah, no.
I don't either. I think this is something different. And I can't recall if we get confirmation on it or anything leading toward it. But, yeah,
And
Sam.
so he lays right there on the ground,
Yeah.
weeping until Ed finds him again.
Hey, Ed.
Good for Ed. And
That's
that
the
was,
last coherent memory he has of the fist. After that, they walked. Dywin had managed to get 3 pack horses out of that son bitch.
Dude, Dywin's been a champ since the fucking start.
Men were organized, and all Sam had to do was walk. But very quickly, he began to lag behind. And they lagged now. Paul's stride was beginning to slow by the heavy snows. Torchbearers passed them, advising Paul to leave the pig for the dead men. And after a while, Gren realizes they're alone. And he's like, shit, was that the last of, like, the torchbearer? Like, are we past the ring? Are we out of Mormont's burning ring of fire?
Yeah, dude.
And small Paul, arms trembling,
he's
stumbles to his knees and can't. He just at least reaches his physical exhaustion point. He can't carry Sam anymore. And I really like the touch that, like, Sam can feel him trembling. Like that weak in the muscle. Like, he just can't. Like, it's not that he doesn't want to. Because it was nothing to Paul. Paul was just fucking trugging along. Like, this is just a genuine, and, I mean, it feels bad because, like, any, kind of simple person will just associate, like, and lump them together. But I get Hodor vibes from him. He's a very gentle giant.
Yeah.
He wanted a bird. He cared, like, he wants his bird. We'll get him a bird. Like, he just wants a bird. And then he's willing to carry Sam, someone who everyone's being like, leave this fat piece of trash.
He saw Gren sitting there showing a kindness, and he's like, I like Gren. Like,
and then,
this guy
he even shows concern for other life in his very last moments here.
And so Sam thinks that the cold is bitter here. Clearly, again, signaling that the whites are right there.
Only Gren's torch remains, and then there's a plop of snow.
Yeah, well, because he said there's no food, no fire, and no friends. They were all alone. And I think that's... What the fuck, dude? Gren's right there, bro.
Right.
Like, you do have your friend. And Small Paul's acting like a friend. Like, he just carried you, dude. Like, what's wrong with you? But yeah, there's a plop from the wood line behind them.
Gren turns, and a horse head emerges from the dark.
Phew.
Until, like, it's
just
dead.
joshing.
Entrails dragging.
It looks like a thestral.
And another on its back. And as it dismounts, its armor ripples and shifts. God damn it, these things are so fucking cool.
So it also says that when it landed, it didn't crack the crust of the snow as it landed.
Light as a feather.
And now I used to like to try to do that, when I was a kid. Yep. And on occasion, they would be frozen through thick enough where it would work, but almost never did it really. And like, holy hell, think how much more dangerous and deadly that if there is 6 feet of fucking snow, that they can walk up above the snow while you're tromping through it. And
Small Paul draws his axe, asking, "Well, why'd you hurt that horse?" And he mentions that it was someone's horse, someone he knew in the Night's Watch.
Yeah.
Sam gropes for his sword, but remembers that he lost it at the fist. Gren starts waving the torch at it, saying, "Get back or I'll burn you burn." The other rushed forward and just cuts the head off the torch.
Bye-bye.
Snuffing the flames. Which, like, all right, weird flex, but okay. Like, you're already in control of this situation. Like, the others are capable of a cruelty. Like, we knew this from Waymore Royce, but this thing knows that they're clinging to this torch. It's their only hope.
That torch can't save them at this point anyway.
Well, right.
And he can just bink.
Right, and so, like, he could have done that and just killed Gren.
Absolutely. Right.
But he didn't. Instead, he does the torch to give them that fear.
Yeah.
And
to tease them.
Yeah, like, the others are, like, fucked up and capable of this, like, let's torment these people before we kill them. And I just thought that was such an interesting... like, snuff the torch so that their last hope goes out type thing. Fuck you, Mr. Unnamed Other.
Now, the bravest man of the fucking bunch, Small Paul, raises his axe up and charges at this motherfucker. God damn, Paul.
Yeah.
Like, but
again, another way more than let's dance with me then.
He is completely outclassed.
Oh, yeah.
This thing just dances around him.
Sam had never experienced such fear as his fingers find his dagger, and he just grabs it. I think just felt good having a blade in his hand, similar to what Arya
because he did reach for his sword at first, and it's just that comfort.
And the other was as light as snow on the wind as it spun and drove its blade through both mail and flesh with a hiss and steam. As this blade is so cold, it hit his blood and causes it a hiss.
Gleamed with a faint blue.
It hisses at the fucking contact with his blood. It's so cold. I love, like, it's so fucking cool. Still trying to reach the other. Paul is fucking grasping at it until he fell.
He almost does. So he's doing exactly what that
trying
other
to crawl
did,
up their blade.
And he almost did, but
But his weight does pull the blade from the other's grip.
And so Sam all of a sudden starts hearing
"Do it now."
Voices. It as negative as they've all been to him, it very much so reminds me of Arya and her mantras with their
this is
like,
just
go,
do
it.
Stop crying and fight, Craven, stop crying, baby. It's his father's voice he hears in Alistair Thorne, Dickon, the boy Rast. This is that, and I don't think this is even like a list for Arya. This is that spite of like, fuck you. You all fucking laughed and said you wouldn't do it.
He giggles.
He giggles hysterically.
Then he hears Jon say, "Do it." And I think that this is, while those other ones were all berating, this is a do it,
He
Sam.
wonders if they will turn him into a big, fat, white, which I just love after he giggles hysterically. Like, I'm going to die. And I that'll be funny, to see my fat ass trying to do this as a dead zombie thing. So fuck it. And then
he hears Jon say,
Sam.
Do it, Sam.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what you were saying. That stick it to them. Fuck them. Do it. Do it and show them.
The one person who is said to do that in his life. It's
all it takes is one time to prove something. And I right here at this moment thought of Ned Stark. The only time a man can be brave.
Right. Is when he's afraid. You can do it, you can, and then he's running forward, closing his eyes and shoving the dagger blindly before him.
Straight into its throat.
There's a crack like ice breaking beneath a man's boot, and a screech which causes Sam to stagger back and fall on his ass. The other's armor ran down its leg in rivulets. in rivulets. The armor alone.
And then its blood was in there too.
It got stabbed in the throat and the armor melts first.
Yeah.
Okay, just noting. As pale blue blood hissed around the Dragonglass dagger that was stuck in its throat. It reached to pull it out, but where its fingers touched it, the obsidian smoked, and the fingers, again, melted. The other was suddenly gone and swirling away in a fine white mist, while beneath were bones like milk glass that were melting as well. All right.
Yeah, dude.
So, one.
It doesn't just explode into psh, and I like
applause
that.
for Sam. Two, yeah, it fucking melts, and then I don't know, it almost seemed video gamey to me, where just like suddenly it melts, and then there's just a pile of bones, like,
right, like
and I like they neatly
melts,
stacked,
yeah,
and then they
like
melt, like it's just that's super interesting. So
they are organic.
There's
in
a
some
skeleton
form.
structure,
yeah.
right. And even if the bones aren't made from bone, they seem
could be
they're made
petrified
of
ice
something. Yeah,
but...
that's it. And then just the stages. The armor melts because obviously
now
it's Dragonglass.
This is Dragonglass. Valyrian steel is just metal infused with Dragonglass with magic, of course.
Right. So there might be a different...
Do you think it will kill effect?
I think it may leave a corpse. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would be like killing them with one of their own blades, effectively.
Or actually
where
just killing
it would leave a body
instead of melting them
instead
into
of
something.
melting them completely.
Right.
Yeah, I
That
do
could be
think
neat.
that there will be a difference in the weapons effects, and so. Finally, only the dagger remained, and Gren reached down to grab it, but flung it down at once.
That's cold.
Oh my god, I love this whole scene.
See, so you once threw a cup of cold water on me, and I freaked out like it burned. That's why, because sometimes cold can hurt too.
That's how cold the water was. It was very cold.
Yeah, no, fuck you. He just grabbed a fucking Dragonglass that I'm assuming absorbed the literal cold of a White Walker. So, go fuck yourself. My tea was in the microwave for 5 seconds when I realized that I shouldn't do it with a tea bag in there because it'll probably explode. And so, yeah, you're fine. Sam thinks Dragonglass and then Dragonglass and giggles and cries and then throws up. So Sam's on the train. Like, oh, it's fucking literal like dragon's breath. Like, I get it. Fuck these things. Fire. So, like, yeah.
And then he starts standing himself up.
Well, Gren helps him up. He's like, oh, shit. They check Paul, close his eyes, R.I.P., and grab the dagger, which is now safe to hold.
Sam offers it to Gren, saying, you can use this. You're more useful than I am. You're not a craven. And he's like,
oh, I wrote the actual here because I really liked it. So craven, you killed an other. Like, look there, though. The dawn.
Yeah. And Sam at this point was already kicking off his first foot.
At dawn, look to the east. And because Gren's like, yeah, we got a chance to catch Mormont, right? Hey.
And so he's like, I'll try. I'll try hard.
He took a step, grimacing. Not sobbing this time.
Grimacing.
So it's a begrudging acceptance now of his hero's journey. Sam is choosing to continue forth. He is empowered by this moment. And he's accepted that he's changing.
And I think part of that is Small Paul dying for him.
Is everything right there.
Well, obviously, no. The whole
no. That's what I mean. Is like Gren didn't fucking flee in terror and be like, "Fuck you, Sam. You're on your own." Gren,
he stood there and waved his stick.
And then he got that.
He threw the stick at it.
And
didn't
he chucked it, and then they were him and Sam were kind of like,
Ron
well, what do we
throws
do?
His stick at Voldemort.
Fucking Small Paul was the one with the weaponry and like probably the better skill to use it, given his size and strength. What chance did Gren have if Paul wasn't doing shit? Like, and so the fact that it was Sam who
charged it
forward in a sporadic madness moment, which I love.
Irrelevant.
Well, no. It's that battle cry. It's that
Tyrion experience.
Fuck
the
it.
same
I'm
thing.
doing it. I'm going for it.
Yeah.
This is crazy, but I'm going for it. And even Gren clearly is like,
he had Shia LaBeouf there in the background. Just do it. Do it! That's what got him. It wasn't Jon Snow.
All right, with Shia LaBeouf creeping out in the haunted woods, that's where we're gonna haunted forest. That's where we're gonna convene our small council.
He's an actual cannibal.
Shia LaBeouf. What up, counselors?
Hey, what's up? We're in the small council.
So, Sam won. Storm of Swords got an inductee.
Fuck, you always throw that at me so fast. So, yeah, I want it to go to Gren. He just, from that first time with John, where John was like, nah, you need to fucking, we're friends now, and I'm going to stop you from being a fucking jerk. And he's like, all right, we're friends now. He's had Sam's back, and he's been what John usually is whilst John's been away. And so him having Sam's back, he stayed with Sam when Sam was laying on the ground.
Yeah.
He was told by multiple, probably more veteran men of the Night's Watch.
Fucking just leave him.
And he wouldn't. He refused.
Yeah.
And stood by his friend.
He saved Sam's life. He saved Sam's life to kill that other. And
right now with that, they just obviously formed a bond.
Yeah.
Like, again, seeing the way that Sam fell in line with the men of the Shadow Tower, he was looking, I need to find Ed and Gren. Like, they're my friends. I need to find them. Well, this clearly shows that it's reciprocated. Gren also thinks that Sam is his friend. It's not just this, oh, John's making me do this. He would not have stayed if not.
Right.
And I think it's very similar. He thinks he's friendless too. Like, none of these other guys.
And he gets picked on for being, like, a simpleton.
The Oryx,
so, like, so he knows what it's like. And mine can piggyback right off of that. My inductee is for Ed, because Ed is the one who found Sam in the snow right after the fist, after he got thrown. And still, obviously, had a similar circumstance. Get up, Sam. We got to keep moving, Sam.
Right.
Like, let's go, Sam. Like, Ed did it, too.
And then he showed up because that's when they met up a few hours later with Mormont.
And then Ed, I think also there were a ton of fucking lines that are just bombshells in this, but I thought Ed's was one of the best of, Sam, will you wake me? I'm having a terrible nightmare, because what the fuck else is that?
Yeah.
But waking up to that is I'm in a nightmare. Like, I'm going to die in this, and I'm going to wake up in the coldest sweat I've ever been in, because this is fucking insane. This is not real. This is insane.
So with that, I'm going to cut Zach off, because we do have to get ready to record with Micah here soon.
Stop yelling at me.
We want to get into your inductees, the good ones other than mine. And we'll start out with Mr. Julian, our favorite French fry from France. And he says, hello, guys. Whoa. Intense chapter, incredibly intense. Bravo to Small Paul for the sacrifice, Gren for the empathy and help, and hurrah for Sam, killer of others. My inductee is going to echo through the past, as I did already choose him for the exact same reason. It is Ghost, the wolf who found the Dragonglass to begin with and made it possible for our plump Samwell to become a hero. Have a good night. Va Dragonglass Eris. Thank you, Julian.
Hey.
Great inductee. Awesome callback. Yo, listeners, go listen to Julian's inductee back on that John episode where he finds the Dragonglass.
Yeah, we're also on it, but fuck that. Just skip to Julian's inductee.
Oh, yeah, there's us too.
So, we also got, of course, an inductee from Karen, who Karen is taking her notes a little differently.
Yeah.
And it's A-okay with us. I love it. But her inductee for this episode is Small Paul for picking Sam up when he just couldn't go on. R.I.P. Small Paul. I hope you get a raven in heaven. Was
that a real song, or did you just...
Well, I was doing it off of, like, Aaron Clapton's...
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Tears in Heaven. But, and then she just did the quote of, the fear that filled Sam was worse than any fear he had ever felt before. And Samwell Tarly knew every kind of fear. Oof. Small Paul was sad. They closed his eyes, though. They gave him what they could for a burial before having to move on.
Yeah,
so,
man.
for respect for Small Paul, thank you, Karen. We appreciate you, inductee, as always.
Outstanding. We have one more to read out right now, and it is from our friend up north, Corey from the Dread Fort. Says, hey, guys, man, I wish the TV show would have set aside some money for that battle sequence.
Preach.
Would have easily traded some dragon screen time for it. Classic Tarly, forgetting to attach the messages to the ravens, but slays a White Walker days later. He is the most incompetent and at times the most competent character in the series. When the chips are down, my money's on Sam.
Hey,
I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Easy choice for my inductee, Small Paul, for being a kind human being in a shitty part of the world. He cares for all life, and apparently a dead walking horse. Rest in peace, big man.
And then he had a quick question. If Winds of Winter is released before we finish Dance, are we going to suspend the podcast and read it?
Fantastic question.
Yes. So Zach and I have actually discussed that
we
quite
have
heavily.
an answer right for you.
Yeah. And so we will not be canceling the podcast.
No.
We will be continuing the reread.
Yes.
We will still be releasing 2 episodes a week.
Yes.
We will dedicate one of those episodes to
the reread?
The current reread. And then the other episode specifically to Winds of Winter.
Yeah.
And it'll be a first-time read.
Potentially.
And we'll be a few chapters through, probably. I mean,
potentially.
It's likely we're going to get it and read it overnight.
That.
And then be going back through for the recording. And it technically would be a second read immediately after. And so it will be likely a full spoiler reread. And so
yeah, we're gonna. I mean, it's full spoiler. We'll probably do. I mean, not probably. We'll be doing Winds of Winter chapter by chapter as we do, discussing it, what this means, what's happening. It absolutely will be full spoiler, as is our
Well,
MO.
since there's so much time, because we know Martin's not gonna have it out for another 10, 12 years or whatever it is. But so that gives us time for you guys. Like, would you rather it wouldn't be immediate. We would probably have knowledge of it, but a first reaction through read, or I haven't really thought about that.
Well,
or
see that. Well, that's the tough part, is because I'm not going to want to stop.
Yeah, no, we're gonna read it straight.
And so
through.
I have to read it to read it.
Yeah, and
first.
if we're gonna talk about it, it's gonna be full spoiler. So I think it's gonna be just this format.
It would just be
standard, whatever we're
as
doing.
soon as Winds hits. That's our what is it? Friday, Mondays and Fridays are release schedule now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tuesday and Friday.
Tuesday and Friday. Our Friday episode would be devoted to Winds of Winter, starting with the prologue up to the epilogue, if there's one. And so our Tuesday episode would be really Storm of Swords, probably looking like we're going to be into Feast before that may even be a possibility. So we would be continuing it would then be one a week, Feast, and then
one of Winds.
One of Winds.
And yeah, the thing is that, like Zach said, it's not likely we're going to be able to refrain from reading through it immediately, and I will probably be taking vacation time off of work for said reason.
Right. I'm not a ridiculous human being who expects to read it in a day. I want to
enjoy
it at a level I can enjoy it. But yeah, the first time, I don't know if I'll be able to say, I can't read anymore because we got to record and I got to wait for that. Probably not going to happen when I have the latest A Song of Ice and Fire book in front of me. But we got plenty of time between now and then. So for the most part, we will, yes, be reading Winds of Winter, covering that one episode a week along with our reread. We're not going to stop the reread when Winds comes out. We will continue our full spoiler analytical read through. So thank you, Corey. From the Dreadfort. Stay safe.
Yeah, so if you would like to write in, like our lovely listeners, and give us your inductees, or if you have thoughts or feelings about any of what we've mentioned during the chapter episode, then you can write to us at our email, withoutmannersbrotherhood@gmail.com. We're also pretty active across some of the various social medias. I'm on Twitter @MannersWithout. Zach is over there at Carstark92. We have the Instagram, also @MannersWithout. And the Facebook group, facebook.com/Brotherhood Podcast. And that one's pretty cool. And we have a private Facebook group that you can get access to through Patreon, patreon.com/withoutmanners.
That's all cool and stuff. You should also go and check out Planetos Podcast, where fucking Micah is from.
Yeah,
who
so
we're
let
going to
me
be
pull up
recording with real shortly here.
Right now, because I'll also have it in the show notes, but his Twitter handle that I am apparently failing at pulling the fuck up.
Tyrion 3, we will be reading with Micah and discussing, and he's excited as he is big into smaller characters and side characters.
It's going to be awesome. His Twitter handle is @Micah_of Clark. So that's Micah, MICAH_ of
Go check him out. Check out all his stuff.
His theories, his content, his podcast. Check it all out.
It's all great, and he will be joining us next episode, the very next, to talk about Tyrion 3 in A Storm of Swords.
And that will be out for you to listen to on the Thanksgiving. So that's next Thursday, whenever that is. So check it out, and I believe that's it. We'll catch you on the next one.
Vala de Harris!
Peace.